search of the unseen 10 of the most bizarre dinosaurs of the Cretaceous Period. Part 2. Welcome to the second part of our journey through the most peculiar dinosaurs of the Cretaceous Period. Last time, we got to know the amazing Nanuqsaurus, Udanoceratops, Scansoriopteryx, Gigantoraptor, and Carnotaurus. Today, we'll continue our quest and dive into the world of even more unusual creatures. We'll travel to the nocturnal Gobi Desert to meet an ant-eating dinosaur and to the icy expanses of Alaska to see the strangest Tyrannosaur of all. Ready? Then let's go. Concavenator, the dinosaur with a hump and quills. Let's cross the Atlantic and land in Spain. Here, another strange giant awaits us, the Concavenator. It followed the classic theropod body plan but had two unique features. First, its hump. It had two extremely high vertebrae just before its hips, which could have supported a hump or a crest. Scientists are still unsure of the function of this strange feature, but theories include display, thermoregulation, or communication. If the first theory is correct, the crest might have been adorned with bright, eye-catching patterns or colors, making it a very unusual sight in the forests where it thrived 130 million years ago. But that's not all the Concavenator had to offer in the weirdness department. If we move to the dinosaur's forelimbs, we see another strange structure, a kind of fibrous plumage. Not exactly feathers, but something similar. The presence of bumps on the dinosaur's ulna indicates that the underside of its arms could have been covered in quill-like structures, which could have added to its displays. Shuvuuia, the nocturnal anteater dinosaur. Back to the Gobi Desert. A tiny dinosaur hops across the sand like a jerboa. About a meter long, covered in beige feathers, with a face that looks like a bizarre, modified owl. This is the Shuvuuia. The Shuvuuia was an alvarezsaur, a group of small feathered theropods adapted to digging for food, usually insects in the ground, termite mounds, trees, or fallen wood. They were perfectly suited for this lifestyle, each having only one finger on each hand, which was entirely for digging up prey. The Shuvuuia, in particular, had an ear structure similar to that of modern barn owls, giving them acute hearing, possibly specialized for determining whether a structure contained insects, saving the dinosaurs valuable time when choosing a place to dig. Another strange little feature of the Shuvuuia is that it could move its upper jaw flexibly and independently of its brain case, which may have allowed it to manipulate its jaws around an insect nest or branch to instantly swallow the invertebrates inside. Finally, from studies of the sclerotic ring bones that surrounded its large eyes, scientists were able to tell that the little Shuvuuia was a master of the night. While other dinosaurs hunted during the day, the Shuvuuia's was unique in its ability to hunt in complete darkness. When the sun set, this small insectivore would hop across the desert sands in search of its prey in relative safety, free from competition. It was perfectly adapted to its lifestyle. Leaellynasaura, the polar dinosaur with a huge tail. Like the Shuvuuia, we are about to meet a small dinosaur with various adaptations that make it a marvel of natural history and truly bizarre. The Leaellynasaura was named after Leaellyn Rich, the daughter of the fossil's discoverer. Tom Rich, an Australian paleontologist known for his work on extinct Australian mammals. The Leaellynasaura was not a large creature, and many of its early depictions are unremarkable. But over time, our understanding of this 2-meter-long ornithischian bipedal dinosaur has evolved, and as a result, how we portray it has quickly changed. First, the Leaellynasaura was a polar dinosaur. It was discovered in the state of Victoria, Australia, which at the time the dinosaur lived was located further south toward the Antarctic Circle. Although conditions here at the time would have been warmer than today, the dinosaurs that lived at the South Pole would still have lived in very polar conditions. One long, moderate summer day and one long, cold winter night would have been the norm for organisms of the poles during the Cretaceous period, similar to the nature of these areas today. In the past, the Leaellynasaura was depicted as a typical, unremarkable bipedal ornithischian dinosaur. Taking its habitat into account, as well as other small bipedal ornithischians across the globe, artists have started depicting the Leaellynasaura very differently. Most modern depictions of this dinosaur now make it look like a strange rodent, or perhaps a type of quail wrapped in a thick, fluffy down that would protect it during the long winter months. Perhaps it even changed this coat seasonally, long and white in winter, short and dark in summer. To adapt to life during long periods of seasonal darkness, the Leaellynasaura also had huge eyes for its size. We cannot talk about the Leaellynasaura without mentioning its strange tail. It was huge, 3 times the length of the rest of its body. It is likely that the tail was used to keep the dinosaur warm in its burrows or nests, perhaps covered in a thick layer of fibrous feathers that could be wrapped around its body or its young at night. Other, more speculative depictions of this tail have been published, and one in particular captures the imagination. The book All Yesterdays by C.M. Koseman and John Conway, which depicts dinosaurs in particularly speculative forms, shows the Leaellynasaura looking like a squirrel roaming an icy forest in a large group where individuals raise their long tails, adorned with a bright yellow flag-like tip, up, perhaps for communication or to signal danger to the family. Moreover, scientists cannot definitively place the Leaellynasaura in the Ornithischia. It was originally thought to be a species of Hypsilophodont. Then it was suggested that the dinosaur could be a basal iguanodont. It is now suggested that the small dinosaur is in the Elasmaria clade, which is much closer to its original position with the Hypsilophodonts. Udanoceratops, the rhino dinosaur with a ridiculous jaw. Most ceratopsids, the group that includes the horned and frilled oddities like Triceratops, Styracosaurus, Pentaceratops, and Protoceratops, were strange. There's no denying that. Many of them looked like dinosaur rhinos with massive barrel-shaped bodies, intricate horned snouts, and a lot of muscle. However, the Udanoceratops was even stranger. This approximately 4-meter-long leptoceratopsid, ceratopsian dinosaur walked on its 4 relatively thin legs in its arid home, which made its massive body look strangely unstable. A deep, paddle-like tail sat on the end of the creature, which is often depicted with needle-like filaments similar to those present on the arms of the Concavenator, the Spanish theropod we met earlier. However, that's not what distinguishes the Udanoceratops from other ceratopsids. What makes it strange is its facial appearance, most of all. The Udanoceratops is strange for the simplest reasons. It just looks absurd. Most of the dinosaur's features make sense. It was a herbivore with a tough beak that allowed it to feed on particularly tough vegetation, perhaps plant stems or harder leaves. To cut through these stems, it needed an extremely powerful bite, and it is this feature that gives the Udanoceratops its strange appearance. The skull was much deeper than many other ceratopsids. In particular, the lower jaw looked strange, with a deep, upward curving bend that ended in a blade-like beak. This, combined with its high upper jaw, tiny eyes, and small neck frill, gives this relatively small ceratopside a truly alien look. It is certainly a creature that would have stood out on the plains of prehistoric Mongolia in the late Cretaceous period. Nanuqsaurus, the polar Tyrannosaur. Now, the last of the strangest dinosaurs of the Cretaceous period. In the icy fields and forests of Alaska 17 million years ago, on a frozen snow-covered hillside dotted with dark rocks and coniferous forests, a group of Alaskocephali are demonstrating themselves. These large bipedal ornithischians have gathered in a small group, two males and a female, to determine which male will win the right to mate. With their dome-shaped heads, they exchange powerful blows to the sides, butting the thick, fat-insulated skin on the left side of their rivals, while positioned parallel to each other. Despite the thick skin, these blows still take their toll on the fighters, and after about 10 minutes, one male concedes defeat. He will win the right to mate with his female, and it is his successful genes that will be passed on to their offspring. The second male limps away, temporarily injured as a result of the failed fight with the winner. As he wanders back down the slope, he doesn't notice the approaching danger. A 6-meter polar Tyrannosaur, camouflaged in the snow with an injured leg, there is little he can do to avoid the jaws of death that clamp down tightly around his torso, and the predator quickly makes the kill. Unfortunately, the unfortunate Alaska seafowl could not have avoided it. Its mind was occupied with defeat, and the mighty Nanuqsaurus was too well camouflaged against the snowy backdrop to fail. Like a pale white ghost, it drags its prey behind a tree and proceeds to feast. Nanuqsaurus translates to polar bear lizard, which says a little about how this animal might have lived. It was likely the apex predator in this snowy domain of Alaska in the late Cretaceous period, and the Alaska seafowl is just one of the animals it might have hunted in this vast, cold landscape populated by large herbivores. It is unusual to imagine dinosaurs living in the snow, but the truth is that by the end of the Cretaceous period, these reptiles had conquered all continents and almost all habitats on them. The poles were no exception, and the Nanuqsaurus commanded its icy domain with the ferocity of its namesake. A close relative of the famous Tyrannosaurus, the Nanuqsaurus was likely insulated by a thick layer of fluffy feathers, which not only protected it from the cold weather of Alaska, but could also provide it with valuable camouflage that helped the Tyrannosaur hunt the large herbivores of the tundra and snowy landscapes it called home. Often depicted in an almost completely white cloak of down, it would have been almost impossible for prey to spot an approaching Nanuqsaurus amidst a howling blizzard or the endless expanse of snow, making it an effective, deadly hunter. Like the Tyrannosaurus, the polar Nanuqsaurus possessed long, deep jaws that would have been backed by immense power, allowing it to deliver a strong bite that could easily incapacitate its prey. However, strangely, it was much smaller than the Tyrannosaurus, which may be explained by the scarcity of food in the snowy tundra. Nevertheless, it was the largest predator of this paleo environment and would have been a rather eerie sight amidst a frozen world covered in sparkling whiteness. Well, are you impressed? The Cretaceous period was a time when dinosaurs fully realized their potential. This group of ruling reptiles was not only majestic and numerous, they were also strange, especially when viewed in the context of the wildlife of our modern world. This is by no means an exhaustive list of the strangest dinosaurs of the Cretaceous period alone. As we mentioned at the beginning, dinosaurs ruled the Earth for about 165 million years, and this time allowed them to flourish into all sorts of bizarre forms. This is truly just the tip of the iceberg. Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed our journey through the strangest dinosaurs of the Cretaceous period.